as it only is getting started. Okay, last topic of the day here. Let's talk about a story that sounds absurd. And it is, but it's also a symptomatic element of a system that has swung away too far in favor of tenants at the expense of property owners and institutions. A hospital in Florida is now suing to evict a patient, not from their home, but from the hospital itself, after 5 months of refusing to leave following discharge. 5 months. That's right. This isn't about medical care. It's about someone taking advantage of a system that increasingly protects the unproductive at the expense of everyone else. Think about it. The housing system has been so tilted towards tenants and the courts so protective of the unhoused that even a hospital whose bed space is designed to save lives can be held hostage by a single individual. Meanwhile, landlords and property owners are left holding the bag. During the pandemic, eviction stays were in place nationwide, and for good reason, allegedly, yet states still collected real estate taxes from the property owners who were carrying the financial burden. The irony is almost comic if it weren't so costly. So we've arrived at a world where housing rights have expanded so aggressively that any space, even a hospital bed, can effectively become a tenant's stronghold. Productive members of society, whether landlords, healthcare providers, or taxpayers, are left out in the cold, forced to subsidize those who refuse to participate in the systems responsibly. This isn't just a hospital problem. It's a reflection of a broader policy failure when laws favor one class of people so heavily that justice and accountability are nearly impossible. You get situations where basic operational norms like discharging a patient break down entirely. And for those paying the price, everyone else. The real estate owners, the healthcare system, the productive citizens trying to keep society functioning. They're the ones stuck footing the bill while the system continues to reward inertia, entitlement, and frankly, lawless occupation. The story isn't about a hospital failing. It's about a society that has made it legally impossible to balance rights with responsibility, and we're starting to see the consequences in real time. Beds blocked, landlords punished, and justice itself put on hold. Now, mind you, this is something that we could only see come out of Florida, but
yeah, they've been making a recurring appearance now on the show.
Boy, do they. Like Brad Richardson said, only in Florida.
Yeah.
You know, this is so
That's what OF should stand for now. Only Florida.
Yes.
OF USA.
Yeah.
But it is wild to consider the fact that you could have a patient overstay their discharge by 5 months before some hospital administrators like, so what? Let's get the law team in here. You got to go through an eviction proceeding.
There's literally a squad in a hospital.
You can't do trespassing, like
no, dude.
They're by law required if they take federal money.
Not even that. This is such a weird
Loophole.
balance. It's a loophole because you don't get squatter rights or tenant rights without some sort of lease, some sort of exchange where, you know, there's a lease I signed. Well, that's not in this case. So there must have been, he's making the claim and argument where there's an exchange for rent. Well, because they charge you $100 a day to be in the hospital, that isn't rent. This isn't residency. This isn't rent for residence. This is payment for services. Part of the service being housing.
You can't claim residency at a restaurant. Just
Great
because
point.
you pay for service doesn't mean you can stay there.
Yeah.
Right. So Doug raises a great point. The fact that we even have to go to a courtroom to argue such a basic point. What are you say, Ricky?
What does he eat? How does he eat? How does he like?
Well, they're giving the hospital food.
I'm sure they have to.
Why?
Because he's paying all day.
So I read this article. So they went there because under any hospital that takes Medicare federal money has to treat you until you're stable. And then if it's an outpatient procedure, you can be discharged. But they're required to keep you there if you're in critical condition. And then apparently this patient just refused to leave. That's what it is. Apparently they just refused to leave.
Right.
Bring
That's
back
the craziest
Looney
part.
Houses.
I'm not going nowhere.
Because if we had
Oh, my
crazy
Ricky
houses
Stocks
still,
and my orange juice.
if we still had loony houses, could have just moved him right over there.
Man,
But they
Reagan
have to
strikes
want to
again.
leave.
For
They have
it.
to want to leave, and this patient doesn't want to leave.
well, and again, Reagan,
be-
another
But
victory.
it
No,
would be just transferring him to another part of the hospital.
But they
Just
have to agree to
another
want to
building.
leave.
like again, you got to think about it, Ricky. How do you get him in that transportation? Like, whether it's a ambulance, some sort of taxi, even a police, like they would have to straight up drag him out, cuff him, whatever. And now that he's making a claim that he has a right to be there, that you can't really use that excessive. Dude, again, everything you're putting your finger on is liberal red tape for the sake of protecting the lazy and unproductive.
But what's funny is Florida is so for owners and landowners and businesses. Like they really are more than
You're right.
New York, for example. So the fact that this is happening there is kind of crazy.
Well,
it's the biggest loophole. You just happen to pick a like Doug. You nailed it. If it was a restaurant, they would have got him out of there much quicker.
right.
This being a hospital, I feel like it's the hardest loophole that.
Just because the
I'm sure
hospital
this person
accepts
lucked
federal
into it.
money.
He just happened to be in a hospital.
And he wasn't claiming that, oh, I'm still ill. I don't feel good. Like, he wasn't claiming nothing. He's
Just
just like,
refuse to leave.
we
He's
take
like
the
2
bed.
months away from
I don't
being
care
able to
who
legally
needs it.
stay. It's his house.
He's like, I don't care who needs it in this emergency. I'm just going to keep this bed. Keep this
Right.
bed.
Well, and again, I'd be curious to see what brought him there. Doug, did you pick up on that from the article? Did it say?
I just know that it mentioned that like the person was brought in for critical care, and
Okay.
that now that they were stable, they tried to get them out, and they have just refused to leave.
Yeah, it was
don't think
probably
they
an
said
overdose.
What it was exactly, because I don't think they can.
Right. No, you're right. Great point. HIPAA. But I'm sure it was an overdose. They pumped him full of Narcan, let him spend a night or two, and then he just never left because he's like, this is so much better than Under the Bridge. Force me to leave.
Hey,
And
at least he got sober.
dude, little did you know, he's just been like,
Well, he's just taking
the
advantage.
morphine bags. He's just
He's taking advantage of the fact that any hospital that is not for profit or takes federal money at all, they have to stabilize you before getting rid. And this person just has refused to leave. They took advantage of the fact that they had to take this person in, regardless of them having insurance or not. And the only reason I think this hospital truly has a case to evict him is the fact that this person is taking up beds for critical people. Like this.
well, no, but
you know?
you're missing one major link, which is he was discharged. So he is no longer in a critical
Exactly.
condition. They no
But he's
longer
still
need to hold
taking
him.
up a bed, though, and
That's what I
where
mean.
think
So
the
he's taking up a
hospital has
bed,
chance.
but they also they no longer have an obligation to hold him because he's stable and he's been discharged, but he's refusing to leave, as you've indicated, which means when he was first there, he had a right to be there. He's somehow twisting and convoluting
Well,
tenants'
dude, if you've
rights.
ever been to the doctor or if you've ever had something, you can argue stuff to a medical extent. Like my insurance didn't want to cover a certain amount of PT. My PT and doctor agreed that should, and then insurance was forced to. Like there is that period where you can kind of maybe get more. And I think this dude has just tried to stretch that system to the extent.
No, it's just he won't leave. He's
Yeah.
just like, all right, for after the first month, 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, 3 months in, they're like, all right,
He's wheeling.
he's still here.
He's wheeling himself on the wheelchair.
Well, and
that
he's
goes-
walking through the halls. Hey, Susan, how's it going? And Susan's like, how the hell is this guy still
and then
here?
he trips, and he's like, I can't go yet.
And the nurses, the medical advisors are just like, Mr. Johnson, you're gonna have to leave. I ain't going nowhere. And
Yeah, I wonder how old this individual is. Did it say?
so now they're waiting for an eviction so they could have a physical bailiff removal.
The
That's what it.
sheriff remove him. Yep.
Yeah,
Nice.
just a
He been
wild
wearing
thing
the
that you would
same
only see in
clothes.
Florida.
He been wearing the same clothes or just hospital garments this whole time.
Hospital
It's
gown.
crazy.
So true.
That's how I'd want to go out.
Yeah, exactly. Anybody wrapping thoughts?
I don't think this could happen anywhere else in the country. I really don't.
Well, it's
No,
happening
no.
worse in New York and
But
California.
I can see
and
it happening here in Cleveland. We have
Yeah.
Metro Health. That is a fail-safe
But the thing
hospital.
is,
They have to accept anyone.
I hear you, but it hasn't. Like, we haven't heard of it.
well, no,
that we're
no.
aware of.
Wait. It's happening. It
Yeah.
just hasn't gone to court.
Exactly.
It's the landlords are losing. They're losing in New
No, I'm
York. They're
talking about
losing.
specific, like at a hospital. I'm talking specifically a hospital. I understand actual landlord-tenant situations. Yes, I know that's happening. I'm talking about. I would have thought I would have heard of this happening more at hospitals, and this is the first time
Right.
I've heard of it specifically at a hospital.
I
And other
agree.
tenants, yeah, obviously.
No, I just mean like squatters. They're squatting everything. Anything
Yeah.
that has a roof and a door to get in.
I just thought I'd hear more so squatters at hospitals. It makes more sense. It's like, I can't believe this is the first time I'm hearing it.
Yeah, it really does
happening.
feel that way.
It's like squatters everywhere else. It's like, well, yeah, of course. It's
Well,
happening
because
everywhere.
again, you would have imagined most hospitals just don't even question it because, like Doug was indicating earlier, there's such a high demand on
Right.
hospital beds that it'd be like, well, there actually isn't a dialogue here. We're just going to throw you out on the street if you don't remove yourself.
That's what I mean. So that I guess it just fully fleshed out when I first mentioned it. It's like, no, I just, the fact that a hospital, this is the only time I've really heard of this at a hospital. I'm like, it's kind of crazy. The fact that it's Florida.
Ricky, any thoughts here as we close it out?
Hey, find a loophole. He jumped through it and he's sticking with it.
Swimming. in.
Leaped through it. You're right.
We need Dr. Charles from Chicago Med to check this guy out.
Facts. Doug, how about you? You found the article. Any wrapping thoughts
No,
on?
just like people can argue to stay in the hospital or argue a need for a procedure, but to argue to the extent that you're there for 5 months, this is outside the norm. And like Will said, we haven't heard this because most people don't stay 5 months past your outpatient time. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like
So
there are
true.
people who argue more time or more procedures, but this is to the extreme.
This individual is technically 2 months now away from on his tax return being able to say the hospital was his legal residence.
And it's probably
That's
a tax-free
insane.
residence
Like,
too, right?
He legally would have to do that.
That's absurd. You're right.
Yeah.
And what are you in for? I overdosed back in
I have
November
no
24.
I have
Yeah,
no
25.
income either.
Yeah.
Except the welfare.
Yeah.
Except the taxpayer.
Yeah.
So what's the takeaway here? This isn't just a hospital dealing with one stubborn patient. It's a symptom of a system that rewards entitlement and punishes responsibility. When laws and policies are so heavily weighted towards tenants, the productive members of society, landlords, healthcare institutions, taxpayers are left carrying the costs while basic justice is deferred or denied. 5 months of occupying a hospital bed without consequences isn't a medical story. It's a social and legal story. It's about the unintended consequences of overprotecting one group at the expense of everyone else. When occupancy rules are ignored, eviction rights are constrained, and property rights are devalued, we're not just bending the rules, we're breaking the social contract. The question becomes, if hospitals can be held hostage like this, what happens next? Offices, classrooms, apartments, any space where productivity and responsibility meet resistance could be similarly disrupted. The system has to find balance, or we risk normalizing scenarios where the unproductive are legally empowered to occupy space indefinitely, while those who maintain society are left powerless. This isn't hypothetical. This is happening now. And the broader lesson is clear. Policies must protect rights without destroying accountability, or society pays the price in beds, in homes, and in fairness itself. All right, let's close.